There are two very different ways of getting into the property market. One is the old-fashioned saving your bum off and using that cash. And the other way is if you've already got a home or an investment property, releasing some of that equity and then using that as your deposit or your down payment to get your next property faster. G'day guys, it's Simon and Ben here from Pumped on Property. Now, over the last 10 years, Simon and I collectively, I think, have bought over 20 properties together.
Yeah, dude.
Over 600, 700 properties for our clients. So we've talked to people that have saved and used their deposits. We've talked to people that have used equity. We've both done a bit of both as well ourselves. So we're really excited to bring some different ideas around this concept to yourself so that you can make a decision with your accountant and your mortgage broker which way is best for you.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I love about property, right? Because it just gives you an option, regardless of whether you choose to save a deposit with cash or release some equity if you've got it. You know, it just gives you those options to speed things up. And it really helped me recently. As everybody knows, the Australian property market has been booming over the last 12 months. And you know, fortunately for me, buying 12 months ago, there was a little bit of equity in my home, and me and my partner were planning on renovating, but not for like 2 or 3 years down the line because it was going to cost us like $50,000 to $100,000, and you know, we obviously were planning on saving that up. But fortunately, because the market rose in value and our property was worth a lot more a few months later after we bought it, we fortunately refinanced with a new bank and pulled out some of that equity as cash. And that completely sped up the process to renovate the home. Now we've, completely opened up the floor plan. We've replaced the flooring. We've painted internally. We've replaced some of the old windows. We put in these epic bifolds behind the kitchen. We completely replaced the kitchen. We completely redid the outdoor entertaining area and re-landscape the backyard.
It's so pretty out there, man. I forgot how much you actually just did.
I know.
It was a lot,
yeah, I'm maybe I can justify spending how much money I did.
Man, you spent some money, but you always do when you want to make it look that good.
Yeah, and it's my home, right? If it was an investment property, there's no way I would have spent that much money on it. But because it was my home, I want it to be nice. I want it to be high quality. And
let's get emotional, man.
Yeah, let's get emotional. Hey, I was like, I'll go for the high quality grass. I'll go for the high quality wood. Yeah, screw it. I'll go for the high quality bench top, appliances, everything.
First time Tay's ever got high quality wood from Simon. No, but all jokes aside, so equity effectively, here's an example of it, right? There's, let's say that you want to go out and buy yourself a $500,000 home or a $500,000 investment. Now, one way would be to save the 20% deposit, which is $100,000, and then there's the closing costs. Now, I don't know about most of you, but that's a heavily daunting task, and it takes a hell of a long time to do that for the average person as well. I know there's guys of you watching that are balling, earning a lot of money that can save that in a year, but for a lot of other people, it can take time. And so, let's say that you've got an ability as a household to save 40 grand a year. It's going to take you 2.5 years just to get into the market. But for some of you sitting out there, you might, for example, already have a $500,000 home that you bought for $300,000 10 years ago. Now, effectively in that home, you've got $200,000 of equity, and the bank will lend you, up to 80 or 90% of that. So if you were to grab from 300K up to 400K, effectively that's $100,000. And as Simon just said, the bank will actually go revalue the property, release those funds, and then you can use those funds for whatever reasons. People use them for holidays, people use them for cars, or sometimes Simon and myself, they use them for strategic things. Now, Simon spent what have you almost spent? Roughly 70K or something?
Yeah, 70K.
Yeah.
A little bit more, but
that's added at least 100 to 150 grand of value on top of that 70K to the home. So, whether you're using it to increase the value or your lifestyle, or you're using it to go buy another property, it can be absolutely gold. And in a market where things are going up so quickly, if the market's not improving, then you've got time to just save. But if the market's going up as quickly as it has, that equity can be absolutely priceless.
Yeah, and you got to obviously factor in your risk profile, because doing that increases your debt. And that's what's really important to note. So when I pulled out that 70K, my home loan went up $70,000. So like I'm holding an extra $70,000 worth of debt that I need to pay off over the longer term. So, that doesn't sit well with many people, especially releasing it from your own home. So you always got to talk to your financial advisor or mortgage broker or accountant to make sure that you're doing the right thing based on your situation. But I think it's so, beneficial if you are willing to, swallow that pill and take on that little bit more debt to get into the market a little bit sooner with another property or, increase the value of your property as well. I know our sister Crystal, she's got like some more renovation work. So they're thinking of doing exactly what Taylor and I have just done recently as well to speed up that process. And because her husband, Matt's a builder, he can do it for way less. So instead of making $1 on every dollar that he spends, he's making 2 or 3.
It's incredible. Like my sister actually sent us both an email about 2-3 weeks ago. And she was, she's got 2 really high quality properties on the beachside suburbs of Brisbane that she bought years ago, dirt cheap compared to now. And then she's got a beautiful home that she lives on the coast. And she sent us an email and said, I'm thinking of selling one of my beachside properties so that I can raise the money to go renovate.
Because they didn't want to use the equity.
Now, if this was 3 years ago when nothing was happening in these beachside suburbs, I might have said, hey, it's cool, like sell it, fix up your home, and then go buy another one on the beach because you'll be able to buy it in 12 months for the same price. But I actually said to her, and so did Simon, like, we just shot back an email, like maybe now with the market going up by 5, 10, 15% some years in some of these suburbs.
And interest rates being super low.
Like she didn't need to sell it financially. She'd talk to her accountant and her mortgage broker and she could comfortably afford to release some equity to do the reno. And so she's released that money, or she's working on releasing it at the moment, and she gets to keep a hold of this other asset, which over the next 15 to 20 years, if it goes up by 4 to 4.8% a year, it's going to double in value for her. So, it's a strategic conversation. I've sold a lot of properties in the past to raise money for renovations.
You're a very risk-averse person that does, you're the kind of guy that won't use equity.
Yeah, I haven't used equity to buy a property yet, but it makes it harder. Like I've had years, like 3-year periods before when Sydney was going ballistic where I wouldn't release equity and I thought I had to save it, where I definitely should have. Like I cost myself a 50% gain on a 500k property in Sydney.
Yeah, and I'm going to do it again in the future. Like I've got 2 homes at the moment, same beachside suburbs that we were just talking about, that I bought years ago at a really good price in hindsight. And now, like my plan is in a couple of years to knock them down and rebuild something beautiful. And at that point in time, because the properties are going to grow in value at a pretty rapid rate, I'm going to just release the equity to take the pressure off myself to do that project, because they are investment properties and it's going to enable me to execute the project a hell of a lot sooner than if I were to be saving cash. And you just got to look at your position, and how much money you're earning, how much savings you can put away every single year, and, figure out whether or not you can justify the decision. And, for me, I can.
Without a doubt. Like I remember working with a client, I think he's bought 3, maybe 4 properties with us in the last 6 years now. And he had bought this one unit in Sydney for $300,000 about 12 years ago. And that property was now worth about $900K. And he'd bought all 4 of his investment properties, or 3 of the investment properties with us, literally releasing $100K slowly at a time. So he went from $300 to $400K, bought his first one, $400 to $500, bought his second, $500 to $600, bought his third. Now, over that 12 years, the rent had grown from about $350 a week to about $700 a week. And he was able, through that increase in rent over that time, to cover that small increase in his debt position. It's just incredible what equity can do for you, and it's definitely worth talking to your broker about it, especially in a market like this one where the next 5 years in very specific parts of Australia look better than, other... I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to say it any clearer.
Well, I think we've said it enough times now where we like to buy at the moment. But I'll tell you one thing, whatever's happening down in Sydney right now is totally counter-cyclical to what we've experienced, like what we've looked at in the past day.
It's fire right now.
It's
Like, it's
wild,
absolutely
man.
fire.
Yeah.
So Simon and I actually did look at the last 50 or 60 years in Sydney. And in this particular stage of the cycle, which is the second half, like, generally what you see is Sydney doing well.
Yeah, but flattening out.
But at some point, like, hitting a point where it's pretty unaffordable and settling, but like, it is on an absolute tear right now, and it looks like there's no stopping it. Like, I've got friends that are caught up in the hype that are buying at the moment, and it's going nuts. Like, I think 9% in the last quarter.
It's crazy, man. Like, it's crazy what's going on down there. Maybe it is turning into like a London or a New York or something. Who knows?
There's no international investors speculating on it though. So
I know.
It's all Aussies.
Yeah, it's the rat race. It's the rat race. Hey, everybody on the hamster wheel. But look,
brutal. That's not getting edited out.
Look, I can be brutal sometimes, brutally honest. But like, I just like, you got to obviously see the value. And it's like, if you're looking in Sydney right now and you want to do some renovations or you want to buy another property, and it's like, you know, that market's grown by what, 10 to 15% over the last 12 months, I think.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's way quicker on $1 million than being able to save that amount of cash in that period of time. So it can just bring that journey forward a hell of a lot sooner. And it's happened for a lot of people in Melbourne, Canberra, Hobart, Brisbane, City, some parts of Perth. I think I just saw the figures for Darwin. It's gone up by like 20% in the last 12 months.
Which sounds crazy, but then if you look at the data, Darwin's done an average of just over 1% per year for 14 years.
Yeah.
And from the top of its cycle to the bottom, it lost almost 40% of its value because people were going
value there.
hot on Darwin a while back in the last mining boom. And so it's like, yeah, I'm super grateful to be able to talk about equity. I know we've got off tangent there. I hope you've enjoyed this little insight into our ideas around it. And in future videos and episodes of the Pumped On Property Show, we'll definitely dig into more of this market stuff, which we clearly love talking about.
Yeah, sounds good. Sweaty. So sweaty. Oh, that's good.